And I would like to start this meeting with a land acknowledgement. The land that Eureka rests on is known in the Wiyot language as Jarujiji. Past actions by local, state, and federal governments removed the Wiyot and other indigenous peoples from the land and threatened to destroy their cultural practices. The city of Eureka acknowledged the Wiyot community, their elders, both past and present, as well as future generations. This acknowledgement demonstrates the city's commitment to dismantle the ongoing legacies of settler colonialism. And we have that on our agenda every month, or every meeting, and I'll read it periodically. And I would like to start the meeting then with a roll call.
Mayor Seaman.
I'm here.
Councilmember Castellano.
Here.
Councilmember Walton.
Here.
Councilmember Arroyo.
Here.
Councilmember Bauer.
Here.
Councilmember Burgell.
Here.
Right on. And Mr. Oh, wait, now we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You switched the flags, and I was just standing there going, this doesn't look right. And next, I will ask Mr. City Attorney, do we have a report out of the closed session?
Yes, Mayor. There was a reportable action taken in closed session with respect to the bankruptcy of Purdue Pharma, and it was moved by Councilmember Arroyo and seconded by Councilmember Burgell that the City of Crescent City cast its ballot in the Purdue Pharma bankruptcy proceeding in favor of the proposed plan of reorganization, and that the mayor and the city attorney are authorized to sign the ballot as necessary. That motion passed unanimously 5-0.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to correct the record that it was the city of Eureka.
Crescent City. Next, it's time for the mayor's announcements. So I just have a few things to talk about before we get to re-administer our oaths of office to our two new council members who haven't had a chance to, they did it on Zoom, which this is a pretty special thing. So we wanted their families to get a chance to see it. The first thing I want to do is request a consensus for a letter for the Trans-Pacific fiber optic line. They need to get a final permit from the California Coastal Commission for land and subsea cable at the Harbor District. It's been held up while negotiations with the fishermen have occurred. Those negotiations are ongoing and hopefully will reach a conclusion. But if the permit is not considered by August, it could take almost another year, which will postpone approving this. So this isn't even a letter about whether or not we approve it. It's just a letter asking them to consider it now so that it doesn't go past without, so it doesn't get not passed by default because it doesn't get discussed. So can I get consensus that we write a letter to ask them to consider it the next meeting? Alrighty, thank you very much. The next thing is I was reached out by Congressman Huffman's office to appoint somebody to the longest named committee ever. It is the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management California Intergovernmental Renewable Energy Task Force. And Scott Bauer will now be attending those meetings. The first 5 minutes of which will be welcoming you to the meeting because the name is so long. It's the only name longer than the airport name, I think. And then, yay! Congratulations and thank you. Actually, it's really important. They're going to be talking about the offshore wind, so I'm sure it will be meeting for the next few years, and it is going to be a very vigorous discussion, without a doubt. And you also serve on the RCEA board. There's so many R's. And so this is a very natural tie-in. So we're really happy that he was able to do that. Finally, I was approached by the State Office of the Controller's Office to hold a workshop for our businesses in Eureka and Humboldt County. So that workshop will be a Zoom workshop with the Controller's Office on July 31st. So look for more information for that coming soon. We don't have specific details, but they will be coming out. And they'll talk about what the state can do to support small businesses in our community. All right, with that, now I would like to administer the oath of office. I will do one at a time. And we are going to come up here, and I will invite first Councilmember Moulton from Ward 2 to join me up, just right up in front of my dais here. Okay. Thank you. All right, can you hear me on the sound? All righty. So raise your right hand, and we are going to. I, Katie Moulton, do solemnly affirm
I, Katie Moulton, do solemnly affirm
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Charter of the City of Eureka,
and the Charter of the City of Eureka,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
that I take this obligation freely without any
mental reservation,
or
purpose of evasion,
purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties
upon which I am about to enter in the capacity of City Council Member, Ward 2. I know, it's real, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties,
I said that right.
okay, upon which I am about to enter
Upon which I am about to enter
in the capacity of City Council Member, Ward 2
in the capacity of City Council Member, Ward 2
of City of Eureka.
of the City of Eureka.
I told you, it's a mouthful.
You just give me a copy.
You can have a copy.
Okay.
And now she is officially, again, a council member. And now, Mr. Bauer, or Council Member Bauer, because you're already council member.
I'll have it in front of you.
You're going to
so-
have it perfect. Right here. Do you have anybody out there taking, Pam's going to get pictures of you. Right on. I'm so glad to do this in person.
Yeah, me too.
I, Scott Bauer,
I, Scott Bauer,
do solemnly affirm
do solemnly affirm
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Charter of the City of Eureka,
and the Charter of the City of Eureka,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I am about to enter in the capacity of City Council Member.
the
Ward 2.
duties upon which I'm about to enter in the capacity of City Council Member, Ward 2 of the
Ward
City
4.
of Ward 4. Ward 4 of the City of Eureka.
Well done.
Thank you.
It is hard every time. Yay, thank you for coming. It's a little like renewing your vows after just a couple of months. And you didn't run away. This is your chance to say, you know what, I don't know if I'm going to do that again. All right. Well, thank you very much. And we are ready to move on to our public comment period. So do we have anybody here who'd like to make a public comment? This is for items to be heard that are not on the agenda. The limit is 3 minutes per person. And the floor is open. It has. Hello.
Good evening, Mayor, Council members. Jennifer Savage, representing the Surfrider Foundation's Humboldt chapter, and also speaking on behalf of Humboldt Baykeeper. We request that you reconsider linking the city's wastewater treatment plan to the Elk River Restoration Project, and that the city engage your stakeholders and partner agencies through a public workshop explaining the proposed wastewater treatment plan. Currently, this plan is expected to be heard at the North Coast Regional Water Quality Control Board in August. Surfrider, Humboldt Baykeeper, and EPIC have all requested that the board deny it in its current form. Although the Elk River Restoration Project will have positive impacts on Humboldt Bay, particularly by reducing sediment and stormwater runoff from Elk River and improving fish habitat, we do have significant concerns with the city's plan to request an exemption from the enclosed bays and estuaries policy for the Elk River wastewater treatment plant, speaking of long mouthfuls, to which the restoration project has inexplicably been linked. In short, the city has long been operating on the assumption that the wastewater effluent washes out to sea, but a 2014 study determined that up to 90% of the effluent actually remains in Humboldt Bay, which means the city's permit under the ocean plan is not valid. You need a new one to allow discharge into the bay. In 2019, Regional Water Board staff described 7 minimum criteria that would be required to qualify for an exemption, but your staff is proposing to meet these minimum criteria with vague plans to build an Elk River Interpretive Center in the future on land not owned by the city with funding from the city's Wastewater Enterprise Fund, which is the only apparent connection to the effluent discharge. It does not appear that the city intends to make changes to the wastewater treatment facility to improve water quality, despite the fact that the Elk River Peninsula is a popular fishing, hiking, and surf spot. Last fall and winter, you could actually find 20, up to 50 people sometimes out there surfing off that spit. And so we believe that seeking approval at this time is inappropriate, and it predetermines an outcome without any evidence that these beneficial uses will be protected. Further, the city has held no public workshops or otherwise alerted the public, despite learning that the effluent remains in the bay. The proposed wastewater treatment plan would raise rates for not only Eureka residents, but all those served by the Humboldt Bay Municipal Water District without any improvement of water quality or clear benefit to ratepayers. So we ask that you direct your staff to ensure the minimum criteria required to qualify for an exemption to the enclosed bays and estuaries policy is met before moving forward with an application for an exemption, and that you hold at least one public workshop on the matter prior to the regional board hearing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other public comment at this time?
Hello, Chumai Tashichma Enta Yamoaka, Mael Muto Wiatama, Kanohopo Kashaya Pomocha, Yawi Wiat Nopo. So I'm saying hello, my name is Yamoaka, and I'm thanking the Wiat people whose land we're on is currently being occupied by the county of Humboldt. I'm here to voice a complaint on behalf of the Peace and Freedom Party of Humboldt County. On January 25th, 2020, the Peace and Freedom Party held a rally in cooperation with the Answer Coalition in a global day of protest against Donald Trump's assassination of the Iranian General Qassam Soleimani at Baghdad International Airport, which is a international violation of law. The reason I bring this up is because on that very day, officers from the Eureka Police Department sent text messages to each other reading, "There's supposed to be a protest at the courthouse from 1700 to 1900 for the war in Iran. Confirm you have your riot gear? Question mark. Ask gas mask, comma, helmet, and dude handle." And this is Officer Rodrigo Reyna Sanchez. A return reply said, "I'll beat those effing hippies down." That's Officer Mark Mefta. "Why don't I have a side handle, question mark?" That's Reyna Sanchez. So they're referring to using violence on the Peace and Freedom Party of Humboldt County, the Answer Coalition members that were there. Also, we had the Veterans for Peace at this rally, as well as mothers and their children. So I bring this up with a minute left to say that the Peace and Freedom Party calls for the firing of these officers that are currently on paid leave. The big thing we're concerned about is that in the United States in general, law enforcement has a big entrenchment of right-wing radical white nationalists. And we know this from the Capitol riots in Washington, D.C., where many of the arrests turned out to be police officers, not working class, poor white people in the trailer park that support Trump. They were well-connected private contractors, police officers, and ex-military personnel that are part of like the Oath Keepers, the Three Percenters, these white nationalist groups. And Officer Rodrigo Sanchez, being involved in so many police killings here locally, including a 21-year-old man at a point-blank range while on the ground, is quite disturbing because he had a personal arsenal of military-grade weapons at his property that were stolen, and his response to his squad was to face shoot that F word. Please fire these officers.
Thank you very much.
Hello.
Hello.
My name's Marky Lilly, and I'm with the Peace and Freedom Party here in Humboldt County, and I'm going to read the petition that we have up on change.org about firing the texting squad. A March 17th article published by the Sacramento Bee revealed disturbing text messages in a group chat of Eureka police officers sent between January and August of 2020. The text messages displayed bigoted, racist, misogynist, and above-the-law attitudes. These officers have a complete disregard for the individuals and the community that they serve. The institution of policing has harbored these attitudes and behaviors for far too long, and the community will not take it anymore. We want systemic change. We want all law enforcement to be held accountable for their community. The community demands this accountability. These officers must be fired for our community to feel safe, to feel any semblance of safety, especially for our most vulnerable. After they are fired, divert the funds to a program similar to Eugene, Oregon's Cahoots, Crisis Assistance Helping Out on the Streets, which is an innovative community-based public safety system to provide mental health first response crisis involving mental health illness, homelessness, and addiction. American Journal of Preventive Medicine estimates that 20 to 50% of fatal encounters with law enforcement involved an individual with a mental illness. Last year, out of a total of roughly 24,000 Cahoots calls, police backup was only requested 150 times. The cost savings are considerable. The Cahoots program budget is about $2.1 million annually, while the combined annual budgets of the Eugene and Springfield police departments are $90 million. In 2017, the Cahoots teams answered 17% of the Eugene Police Department's overall call volume. The program saved the city of Eugene an estimated $8.5 million in public safety spending annually. We need to get the dangerous texting squads off the streets and direct city funding to a program that has showed significant success for over 31 years. Our community deserves this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? All right. Seeing none, I will come back and we will open up, we'll start with our public hearing, fiscal year 2021-2022 fee schedule, and this will be presented by our city manager, Miles Slattery.
Thank you, Mayor Seaman. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Unfortunately, Finance Director Millar was not able to make it tonight, so I will be doing the duties for this year's fiscal year 21-22 proposed fee schedule. There's been not a lot of changes in the fee schedules. The majority of the changes are related to cost recovery for staffing. I could go through them one by one, but I'm sure that you guys have questions related to that, so I will open it up for questions. Just as far as the divisions that have changes, building has some changes, the city clerk has one change, community services has some changes related to park rentals, mainly for after hours costs associated with rentals of parks. And Harbor has small, insignificant change. The zoo has some education changes for their fee schedule. Development Services has a few. And then Economic Development, there was some confusion by some members of the public about the cannabis fees. And the cannabis fees, all the change, the fees themselves stayed the same. However, the cannabis permitting process is going through the Economic Development Division and not Development Services. So it's just changing those cannabis fees from falling under Development Services and putting them under Economic Development. Public Works has a few changes. And then for finance, there's an initial 5% increase in water and sewer that's on this current fee schedule, and we'll be coming back with another change at next council meeting on July the 20th. So with that, if council has any questions, I'm available to answer them.
And I just we postponed some of those water service rates last year, so.
Yes, we did, and we'll get into more. That's why we kind of split it up so that we can have more of a discussion about what the what's going to happen with that change that was with that rate increase that was supposed to happen last year, and what we plan on moving forward with.
That's Councilmember Castellano.
Thank you. I had a question about, I noticed that several of the fees for children's related programs have increased, and I'm wondering if you've heard anything about that causing challenges for access for children, and or if there's information about scholarships for those programs, and just kind of like how widely do we advertise those scholarships and things like that.
So I can answer the majority of that, and Community Services Director Wood may come up and answer about the advertising component. But we've offered scholarships for all of our after-school programs, all of our summer programs, all of our Hoopsters programs. And what that is if you qualify as low income, they allow 50% discounts to all of those programs, and that is achieved through a grant that Community Services applies for with the Humboldt Area Foundation. As far as the how that's put out there, I know that it's put on all the forms for promoting and stuff like that, but I'm sure Community Services does more than that.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Yes, every time we promote or advertise any of our programs, youth programs, adult programs, anytime there's any kind of sponsorship or scholarship available, that's equally advertised. So across the board.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions about anything on the fee schedule? Councilmember Arroyo.
I didn't catch this when I first had my meeting with the city manager, but this fee that's for sewer, like a monthly service fee for sewer, it looks to be new. It's on page 29 of the fee schedule. It's a monthly account charge. Is that something that staff could speak to and just clarify the rationale for that?
Is it a green fee? Because I'm not seeing a green fee on here.
It looks like Director Gervin has an answer to that.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And it looks like for some reason on the sewer fees, but not the water fees, the previous fees didn't get incorporated into the schedule, so everything looks like it's new, but it's yellow because it's just a revision. Not sure why that other column isn't populated. But that fee has not changed.
Okay. So I see that it's yellow, which did mean like there was a slight increase, I think, or?
I don't think that fee itself changed. The other rates beneath it would have, but the account charge, I think, is the same. If it did change, it's a matter of a few cents.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, that didn't populate. So I was like, what are all these new fees? All right. Thank you very much. That's all I had.
Anything else? If not, I will send it out to the public and see if there's anybody out there who has any comments about this. All right, seeing none, I will bring it back. Oh wait, I'm sorry. I'll do it officially the right way. I will now open this public hearing. Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak to it? And since I see nobody, I will now close the public hearing and bring it back for a motion. Oh, come on up. You have to go up, come up here. And we don't answer questions. We only take comments, so we won't be able to answer it at this time.
And LaTanya, if you do have questions, you do have my contact information, and you can contact me, and we can have any of your questions answered.
But you can come answer,
You can
ask
come
them
and
to
comment,
all of
yeah.
us. So we'll all know what they are in preparation. I just want you to understand.
Excuse me. My name is LaTanya Jacob. I'm new to Eureka. Thank you for allowing me to come in to speak. It's about fees. If I'm not mistaken, I want to make sure I'm understanding. When a business wishes to increase their fees, they have to come before the city of Eureka and request approval to do that? Or am I missing? Well, I'm sorry, not to ask. Administrative fee, are we talking administrative fees? Are we talking, is this for the city or is this for
These
anyone?
are all city fees. They're not for the general public.
Okay. The city fee, specifically pertaining to conservator office, they list a fee that people who use their services have to pay, has to pay. And I'm just wondering, what law allows them to do that? Because if they're providing a service to people, why are they asking people to pay an additional fee? I guess I'm just, I'm opposed to that fee. Okay. That's why I came up here to speak on that.
All right.
Thank you.
And you can ask staff that question and when tomorrow.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you, LaTanya. Do we have any other comments for the public hearing? All right, so I will now close this public hearing and I'll bring it back for discussion or a motion. Councilmember Arroyo.
Well, now I would like to get some clarification on that. Does staff know about this? Could you provide some clarification about that fee?
The conservator fee?
I'm sorry?
Yeah. Oh, I don't
So we
believe.
might be talking about a county fee.
Yeah.
Is there a city conservator fee that staff know of?
No, not that I'm aware of.
So it sounds like that might be a county thing. I just wanted to understand if that was something we were applying. Thank you.
Thank you. And now you have the answer. So thank you for asking that. Any other discussion or motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt a resolution of the City Council of the City of Eureka establishing various fees and service charges within the City of Eureka.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Councilmember Arroyo.
The reason I did find it confusing was that we have a conservatorship which relates to some properties, and then there's conservatorship related to persons. So I thought there might be something related to property, but if that's helpful to anyone. I know I found that confusing before, that we use those terms for two very, very different things. But I don't have any other comments at this time.
All right. We have a motion on the table in a second. All in favor? Please vote now. Oh, it's lit. It's lit as green. Oh.
Unanimous yes vote, motion carries.
Thank you very much. And now we are going to move on to the consent calendar. I do see that we have item B3 has been asked to be pulled. Does anybody have any other items they wish to pull? All right. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar without item B3? Councilmember Brigel has moved.
I'll second.
Thank you. Everybody vote.
Unanimous yes vote, motion carries.
All right. And item B3 was requested to be pulled. That's the resolution for request of a state of emergency declaration on the Hickshari Elk River. Recommendation, adopt a resolution of the City Council requesting a declaration of a state of emergency on the Hickshari Elk River. And so I just am going to forever call you a council member. City Manager Slattery.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening again, Mayor and Council. So this item was brought to us by the Wiyot tribe. They have some concerns about the state of emergency that the state has declared for some of the rivers in California. The rivers in Northern California weren't included in that, mainly the rivers that are on Wiyot land. And so we were forwarded a resolution with a request to support an effort to have our local rivers included in that state of emergency. And so staff put together a resolution requesting that the state include at least the Elk River, since that's in our jurisdiction, to be included in the state of emergency. And so the plan would be, if this is approved by council, that we would take this resolution after signed and pass it on to the Wiyot as support for their resolution to the state. So council has any questions about that, staff is available to answer.
All right. Councilmember Moulton.
What is the benefit of this resolution?
So as a state of emergency, and I can't speak to why the local rivers up here were not included in that, but mainly it's probably because of we don't have a shortage of water, similar to the other rivers in California. However, the detriment to the habitat and the fish runs and the resources in these rivers are being affected by this drought in a similar way that the other rivers are. And obviously the Wiyot feel that's important, and I think that staff feel that's important, that it be recognized and be listed as a state of emergency, so that if any funding should come from this, that funding could be used locally to help out some of the impacts of the drought.
Thank you. Any other questions about this item? Councilmember Arroyo.
I was just reviewing this again and thinking about this statement that the Elk River is known as the most critically impaired Humboldt Bay tributary for sediment. I just want to be sure that, do we know that, I know they're all listed as impaired for sediment. Do we know that it is the most impaired?
I know that it was one of the first listed.
Yeah.
So that was based on my old stormwater information. We could research that and double check, but I know that it was one of the first listed in the state for impaired sediment.
Okay. I'll save my comment then.
Okay.
Which is that we change it. But I understand the point that is being made there, but I just want to be sure that that whatever we pass is accurate. But thank you.
Thank you. I'm looking to see if we have any other questions. Seeing none, I will ask if there's anybody in the audience who wishes to speak on this item. Seeing none, I will come back for comments or a motion. Councilmember Arroyo.
I would just I would like to move approval of the resolution as provided, with the exception of the the following change, where it says Elk River is known as the most critically impaired Humboldt Bay tributary, to just say as a critically impaired Humboldt Bay tributary.
I'll second that. And I agree that that word should be used not very often unless it's absolutely true.
It's a really specific like TMDL thing with the water board, and I don't know that it's 100% for sure true, so I figure we should just say we know it's impaired.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this item? Councilmember Moulton.
I just wanted to express gratitude to staff for bringing this up and working on this. I think that we should all be very grateful that we live in a land that has benefited from the stewardship by the Wiyot tribe for thousands of years. And anything we can do to help continue that and help support that, I'm in favor of.
All right. Any other, Councilmember Arroyo?
Well, I just found something else that I realized didn't make sense as a sentence. I just wanted to propose a correction to that. It is on the last page of the resolution, whereas existing conditions related to the warrant, the proclamation of emergency, there's something either missing or off there. I would say existing conditions.
I think you just take out the...
Related to the drought warrant the proclamation of emergency, or existing conditions warrant the proclamation of emergency. Okay. So I'd also propose that we just make that minor change. Existing conditions warrant the proclamation of emergency. Right, so remove related to the. So I will amend my motion with that.
And I will accept that amendment.
Excellent.
All right. Any more discussion on this item? Okay, Councilmember
I
Ballard.
mean, this is I don't know if any of you look, I'm a total geek when it comes to river flows. And if you look at the United States Geologic Survey, simple website, pulls up a whole map of California, and all the dots of all the rivers that are gauged are red, meaning they're at the lowest flows that have ever been recorded on most of our rivers. So we're fortunate in Eureka. I mean, if you go to Ruth Lake, our water source, we're full. And we're blessed with that because we'll always have water, even in drought. We're lucky, but the state is pretty critical. I'm always shocked by when I look or go out to the rivers, go to Redwood Creek, and it's just pretty sad state of affairs. So I think something like this is definitely worthy of doing.
All right. Are we ready to vote? I think so. Oh, did you have something else to say? One more comment.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo what I heard here is I think it's really important to look for ways that we can continue to support each other in government to government with the tribe. And so I'm grateful we have an opportunity to do so and look forward to more.
All right. So let's vote.
Unanimous yes vote, motion carries.
All right. Now we are going to move on to item C1, which is the June 2021 Annual Zoning Code Update. And I see Principal Planner Getz is here. We thought she was 18 feet tall. She's going to
Apparently. Good evening, Mayor and Council. At your last meeting, Council introduced the June 2021 Zoning Code Update, which will correct inconsistencies, errors, and grammar in the zoning code, as well as add regulations such as a method to calculate floor area for junior accessory dwelling units, requiring native plants and new landscaping, adding new figures and definitions, and applying design standards to the Service Commercial Zone District. Staff recommends that you waive full reading, read by title only, and adopt Bill number 997 CS, the June 2021 Annual Zoning Code Update to amend Eureka Municipal Code Chapter 155, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions for Principal Planner Getz? Councilmember Arroyo.
Could you speak just a little to the density bonuses and what that's intended to achieve? I got a question just today from someone who was asking a little bit about that, and I was I haven't familiarized myself with the purpose of the density bonus, although I just can imagine, but I would love to have more clarity.
So the density bonus language was actually added in last year's update. It was a requirement of state law that we adopt an ordinance that prescribes how we will apply the state law for density bonuses. And basically what it is if you're a developer and you're developing a certain number of low income or affordable housing, then you can receive density bonuses to allow additional units on a site. There are also ways to provide concessions or waivers to city regulations. Perhaps maybe they need to reduce the amount of landscaping that they're proposing to provide for a project in order to be able to build a project. So that could be a waiver that they might be able to apply for.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Seeing none, I will put it out to the audience. Is there anybody here who would like to speak on this item? You have to come up. Come on up.
Hi, my name is Latanya Jacob. Density bonus, when I think of density, is what that means definition-wise is something compact together, quite a few things together, make things something dense. The more you compact something, or the more people you're adding in a populated area, the more amount of people, the more dense it is, I guess. The heavier it gets, the highly populated it is. So am I understanding what you're saying is the more people in a certain area, the more, who gets the bonus? The city, the people? And what is the bonus? Is it monetary? Is it services? Is it resources? What are we speaking? What does that mean? I need to understand.
Simply put, it means that we want to encourage people to build high density so we can have more housing.
Okay. More housing. Okay. Overpopulate, more housing.
People are here. They need somewhere to live.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
That's the bonus.
That's
Everybody
bonus.
gets a place to live.
It goes to people who want to encourage folks to build places. Yes. Any other comments? All right, I'll bring it back to council for comments.
So would you be willing to clarify what that bonus is? Is that bonus money? Is that bonus, a tax write-off? What could that bonus look like?
So density bonus would be additional dwelling units on a site.
But does the contractor, do they receive bonus? Do they receive special anything for that?
So the land use designation and the zoning designation on a parcel prescribe the number of dwelling units that can be built there.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say, for example, you could build 10 units on a lot. If the units that they're providing are for low-income folks, and let's say all 10 units are low-income, then they can receive a density bonus and add up to 50% more units, even though that would exceed the city's land use and zoning designation. So they could get a total of 15 units on that site.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
All right, do we have any comments or a motion?
I'll make a motion to waive full reading, read by title only, and adopt Bill number 997-CS, an ordinance of the City of Eureka amending portions of Eureka Municipal Code Chapter 155 for the June 2021 Annual Zoning Code Update. And thank you for all of your work on this.
I'll second that.
Right on. Any discussion? All right. People are voting already. Dun, 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 dun. Right on.
Unanimous yes vote, motion carries. It goes much quicker without reading each person.
And I do believe we're going to have you here for our next item as well. And that's item C2, Shelter Crisis Appendices X and O Urgency Ordinance.
Yes. So, good evening again. In 2016, the City Council declared a shelter crisis pursuant to the state shelter crisis law beginning at Government Code Section 8698. Since that time, Council has designated a number of city-owned and leased sites for inclusion under that designation. This has allowed the city to suspend housing, zoning, and other standards as necessary to open public facilities to the homeless. The state shelter crisis law was amended in 2020, and now, instead of waiving building and zoning code requirements, local jurisdictions are required to adopt reasonable minimum local standards for emergency housing structures and facilities by ordinance. The local standards must, at a minimum, comply with California Building Code Appendix O and California Residential Code Appendix X. Appendices X and O are state-approved alternatives to the base code requirements, and they're tailored to emergency housing. The two appendices listed are identical, and the full text of Appendix O is included in your agenda packet. The appendices provide a simplified set of building standards for emergency sleeping cabins, emergency transportable housing units, membrane structures and tents, as well as for conversion of existing buildings and structures into homeless shelters. Staff recommends the city adopt Appendices X and O with one local modification. The state shelter crisis law allows for modifications to the minimum standards included in Appendices X and O, provided the city adopts findings stating why the standards cannot be met and are not necessary to protect health and safety. There is a requirement in the appendices that states that new additions, alterations, and changes in occupancy to existing buildings for use as emergency housing facilities must comply with all current building code standards. Staff recommends removing this requirement for occupancy changes because it could unnecessarily trigger the need for substantial improvements to a structure, even when a change in occupancy would not physically alter the structure and would be temporary. This same local modification has been made by other jurisdictions, including the City of Berkeley and Sonoma County. If the emergency housing standards are adopted by council, they will only apply to emergency housing and emergency housing facilities designated under the city's shelter crisis declaration, as long as the crisis declaration remains in effect. Emergency shelter sites that are not designated under an ongoing shelter crisis must comply with all applicable city and state regulations, including base zoning and building standards. As an additional note, under the 2020 amendment to the shelter crisis law, a separate provision was added requiring local jurisdictions that had declared a shelter crisis on or before January 1st, 2021 to develop and make publicly available a plan to address homelessness. The city's 2016 Focus Strategies Housing First Strategic Plan fulfills this requirement. The city is also in the process of developing a homeless action plan this year, which is intended to build on and supersede the Housing First strategy. Finally, staff is recommending council adopt Appendices X and O as an urgency ordinance, which requires a 4/5 vote by council so that it becomes effective immediately. And I have a recommended motion for you, and I'm happy to answer any questions. And our building official, Kevin Rubal, is with us in the audience too, in case you have specific questions about Appendix X or O.
All righty. Do we have any questions? Councilmember Castellano.
Let's see. Thank you for this. I know typically there's an insurance requirement that kind of, when emergency housing is put forth. So, does adopting this create more risk or liability for the city in any way?
Yeah, I can answer. Yeah, so as a part of this ordinance here, it's very similar to the shelter crisis resolution that we have now. The city has to be involved in it. So if it's on city property, and let's say right now with Betty's Blue Angel Village. Betty provides insurance to the city of Eureka, and it's no different than any insurance that we get into with anybody that we have an arrangement with. If it's on private property, like St. Benny's right now, they have an agreement with us. As a part of that agreement, it's the same type of insurance requirement. So it doesn't increase or make it more burdensome for them to do it. It's based on our insurance requirements, and if those should change, then they would have to comply. But right now, it doesn't increase any coverage or anything.
Thank you. Councilmember Arroyo.
I'm not exactly clear on the reading of the building code that specifically applies, Appendix O, that specifically applies to emergency shelter, whether the toilets have to flush. It looks like the lavatories have to have running water, but does that, I guess that means there's a sink with running water? I know there have been many proposals in the past to provide some transitional temporary type housing. I'm not clear on this.
So I'll take a stab at it, and Chief Building Official Rubel can come up and correct me if I'm wrong, but the running water is with the sanitation facilities. I think that this, as a communal sanitation facility, if we were choosing to use porta potties that were serviced, I think we'd still be in compliance with Appendix O.
Okay. Just a head nod back there? Yep. He says yes.
Okay, just good to know, and for future proposals that come up, that kind of thing. Thank you.
Councilmember Burgell.
Isn't that currently what Betty's doing at Blue Angel, is she has porta potties with the sanitation, and then also at St. Vincent's they have the porta potties with the, I mean, they do have a sink there, but it's not open all the time. So.
Correct.
So, okay.
Any other questions on this? All right, seeing none, I'll ask, is there anybody in the audience who has a comment on this item? All right. Okay, come on up. I know.
The things that's offered for homeless people is not very good. No, those 10, I can't believe, running, as you're saying, running water, plumbing is necessary, heating is necessary, even though it doesn't get very cold, but heat must be provided. Electricity must make sure that the dwelling is free from rodents and wildlife getting in. Yes, the houses I've seen around the city of Eureka needs to have a concrete base to keep those rodents out. There are things coming from the marsh, things as in wildlife, and you need to have something. That it just needs to be a standard building code for all the buildings in this area. I mean, it doesn't make sense for the homeless to have a house, but if the house is overrunning with wildlife and doesn't have adequate heat and plumbing and electricity, then that's an issue. And if you have to worry, that is an issue. That is really an issue. That's my speak on it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do we have any other comments? All right, seeing none, I'll bring it back for a vote or a discussion. Councilmember Burgell.
So this is temporary housing. It's emergency housing, is my understanding, correct? I move the City Council waive full reading, read by title only, and adopt Bill Number 999-CS, an ordinance of the City of Eureka adopting California Residential Code Appendix X and California Building Code Appendix O with one local modification.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this? Councilmember Castellano.
I just want to appreciate staff for, thanks Principal Planner McGetz for bringing this forward. I know that this, is actually necessary for people who have recently gained housing to be able to stay in that housing. So I really appreciate that this is coming forward. And and I also appreciate Ms. Jacobs' comments. And though the concerns about vermin and heat and electricity were outlined within this ordinance as well. So I just want the public to know that we are making sure that people have those basic necessities and to human life, and we're very mindful of that, and that hopefully again this transitional housing does provide a step forward for people as they make their ways to on that path towards more permanent housing.
All right.
Mayor, if I might, I believe the motion should include the statement that this is being moved as an urgency ordinance.
Oh.
And I would like to add that this is an absolute urgency ordinance.
Second.
All right, thank you, City Attorney Black, for that. Any other discussion on it, or are we ready to vote? Let's vote.
Unanimous yes vote, motion carries.
Excellent. All right. Thank you very much, Principal Planner Getz. Those were pretty easy ones for you tonight. I'm sure the work in the background was really hard, but at least you didn't have to stay for a long time explaining it to us. Item D1, League of California Cities voting delegate. So we need to appoint a voting delegate and one alternate for the League of California Cities business meeting to be held at the annual conference in Sacramento. And I believe, who all will be attending that meeting? You're not going to make it, Kim? Okay. Councilmember Moulton. All right, so we have 2 council members who say they're going. Do you guys want to arm wrestle over who is the actual appointed person and who is the alternate?
I nominate Councilmember Castellano.
See, quick to the button.
I'll accept your nomination, and I will nominate Councilmember Bauer as the alternate.
Sounds like a very agreeable situation, you guys. Thanks for working together. Does anybody have any discussion about that item? Councilmember Arroyo.
I wondered, since I'm not able to attend this year, I have a competing competing commitment, public service commitment. Would you all be willing to provide us with a little report of interesting stuff you learn? I just feel like we send people and then they gain the knowledge, but sometimes it's hard to disseminate. So if I could request that be in maybe something that's agendized, that we get a report out on the interesting things
Do
you
a
learned.
PowerPoint.
Yeah, mandatory PowerPoint. Maybe not a long one, but just sort of highlights of things to look into. Thank you. Maximize our city's investment. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so that was comments or discussion. Do we need to vote on this? Yeah, we need to vote on the panel, right? Okay. Does anybody in the audience have anything to say about who is going to be on our panel? All right. I'll bring it back for a motion then. Yeah, we already moved, I think. Yeah.
I moved that slate of delegates. Wow.
Excellent. Councilmember Burgell has seconded.
Councilmember Burgell has seconded.
All right. Unless we have discussion, can we all vote on this item right now?
Unanimous yes vote, motion carries.
Excellent. It's a way to get things done, guys. And now we are moving on to the city manager report.
Thank you, Mayor Seaman. And good evening again, Mayor and Council. So I just have a couple of topics to discuss. I'll get to the Redwood Skywalk and the successes that we've had second, but there has been some concerns raised about our protocols for public meetings. When we last spoke about this at a council meeting, it was a part of the city manager's report to discuss what it would look like when we came back to in-person meetings. At the time, based on where we were at, the thought process was that masks would still be required. Since that time, after the 15th, not only the state and the California Department of Public Health come out with new guidelines, but more importantly, OSHA regulations came out on the 17th, 2 days after the 15th, kind of defining what we had to do as a workplace. So at that time, that's where we kind of pivoted and, based it on those that were vaccinated and those that weren't vaccinated. Those that were vaccinated are not required to wear a mask, and those that are not vaccinated are required to wear a mask. So that's how we brought it forward. Based on that, it was discussed at the council meeting that there's a possibility for us to come back as masked as well. Based on these concerns, there's some other concerns about the new variants of the virus and the Delta virus, and some of the information that's coming out related to that. I think it would just be good to get a consensus from council that as we have it now is working for you guys, or as we have it now is not working for you guys, and if we need to make adjustments. One thing I would like to say, if we do make this adjustment, it would also affect City Hall and how we operate in City Hall. Currently, that's how we operate City Hall on the first floor when people come in to pay their water bills and to do business. It's based on whether they're vaccinated or not as to whether or not they have to wear masks. So if the decision is to change that protocol, I just want council to know that we'll have to change our protocol in our public spaces as well, where we do business.
So it's not just City Hall, it's City Hall, the Adorney Center, the
Yeah.
Orphanger, everywhere. All right, does anybody have questions for City Manager Slattery about this? Anybody have comments? We okay with consensus? Councilmember Moulton?
I brought up these concerns in the first place, and my main concern is that what we had said we are going to do in public at the meeting was not what ended up being, not what ended up happening, and I wanted to make sure that there wasn't some member of the public who was coming into a situation where they thought something was going to happen differently. It doesn't look like that's a big issue, so if everybody's fine with it this way, then I'm totally fine with going with OSHA recommendations and following the state stuff at this point.
And totally honoring that some people wear masks for all variety of reasons, and that's okay, for sure. Councilmember Burgell?
I'm just curious, so is it the honor system?
It is from the public standpoint. However, from the OSHA regulation standpoint, we've done it as employers differently. We've required people to fill out forms to state whether or not they've been vaccinated or not, and then we base, and the supervisors know that information, and if they're not been vaccinated, they need to wear their masks. But that's just for employees. For the public, it is the honor system. That's why some people who are vaccinated do wear masks, like, weirdos talking into a mic like me. So yeah, some people can still wear their masks whether they've been vaccinated or not, but we don't require proof. I know that some businesses are requiring proof in order to not wear a mask.
And businesses are allowed to make whatever rules they want. So if a business wants everybody to wear a mask, that's their right. So, okay, we're all good with this? All right. Thank you very much for checking in. It's a
Thank
weird
you.
time. Everybody's got.
All right. So now on to some good news. Not that that wasn't good or bad news, but so I wanted to give an update on the Redwood Skywalk. Eddie Alexander has been leading kind of the promotion of the Redwood Skywalk. We got into an agreement with them just for an initial kickoff, and then a part of their arrangement going forward is to utilize some of the funds from the gate to go towards marketing the Skywalk. If there's any indication of how they're doing now and what's going to happen in the future, they're doing an outstanding job. They've interacted with nearly 160 media outlets and 2,000 freelancers and bloggers since May of 2021, which is a pretty short period of time. Nearly 100 coverage pieces in 11 countries have been put out. They've been distributed across 550 countries. They've earned an earned media value. It's over $1.5 million. And there's a lot of pub and very large media outlets, MSN, New York Times, Only Planet, Frommer's. It's just gotten a lot of pub out there. We're on the cover of Adventure Park Insider. A lot of these publications have come to us thinking that the story was going to be, you know, a small section within their publication. And after discussions with Eddie Alexander, it's turned into something much larger than that. American Airlines has their main piece in their magazine that's on all of their flights, international and domestic. Same thing's going to happen with United as well in Hemispheres. I think it's Hemispheres and United, whatever Hemispheres is for. And then as far as what the effects have been here locally, we've had a record-breaking attendance through the first 2 weeks. We have more than quadrupled the revenue in the first 2 weeks that we had compared to Watershed Heroes, and that's just at the gate. That doesn't include memberships. Our memberships have doubled almost since the beginning of 2021, and just in May we had over 680 memberships obtained for the Skywalk. In the first 2 weeks of opening, we have received guests from every single state within the United States. I think Councilmember Bauer has a pretty good story about somebody from Oklahoma. This is definitely so far doing what it was intended to. The idea of this and making the investment in this was to help improve not only the sustainability of the zoo, but also its impact on the general fund. And we're really seeing a significant impact from this. And thanks to the alliances, as everybody knows, the Lodging Alliance, Eureka, Humboldt, and Arcata were key to the success of this and getting it developed. And their $2.3 million that went towards this, I think, is helping them out. And every indication that we've gotten from the hotels, they are rebounding back to what the numbers were and doing very well currently. And so the Skywalk is doing great. I'm sure all of you have been up there. And so just wanted to give an update on that, and we'll give periodic updates upcoming. Next in the in the line is going to be the bear exhibit, and so we're hoping to get that to construction sometime, hopefully this year, if not beginning early next year. So just wanted to give you guys an update.
Can we hear your story, Councilmember Bauer?
I'd love to share it. My family are one of the 680 new memberships because of the Skywalk, and my wife and a bunch of friends from Placerville were here, and it went up, and they thought it was amazing. And this couple comes up and is like, "Can you take a picture for us?" And they have great accents, you know. And they had planned their 5-week trip, you know, summertime travels. Their main destination was the Skywalk, and they said it was the most amazing thing they've ever done in their lives. They're an older couple, and it speaks a lot to what this asset is for the city. I just thought it was really cool that somebody would plan their whole summer trip to come see the Skywalk, you know, and hit all the other national parks and everything. But it is the most amazing thing and we've ever done, I think, as far as attraction, and it's great. And the zoo's great. We've gone like 4 times with different people that have come to town, take them to the Skywalk, So it's been an awesome experience, and good work to everybody that's been a part of it.
Very cool. I took some folks from Tennessee, so I did my part of bringing out a stater there. All right, that's your report, right?
That's all I have. Thank you very much, Mayor and Council.
Now it is time for council member reports. So we will start down here with Councilmember Burgell.
Councilmember Burgell doesn't have much to say. I did want to mention that I did get to do, speaking of the Skywalk, I got to do an interview with RM World Travel, which is some road show National Road Show, and that was really neat. It was only 4 minutes, and so I didn't get to say like everything that I wanted to say, because you can't talk about Eureka in 4 minutes. You just cannot do it. You can't talk about the Skywalk in 4 minutes, and they asked a lot of questions. Secondly, I wanted to say that the bear exhibit that City Manager Slattery was talking about is helped being funded by Bear River Rancheria, and that is going to, it's the amazing thing about the bear and coyote exhibit is it's going to be not directly under, but you're going to be able to look down from the skywalk and see the bear and coyote, and they're going to work so that the bear don't climb up the fence and get you on the skywalk, but it's going to be it's going to be phenomenal. And I really appreciate the support, as I'm sure the zoo does, from the Bear River Rancheria and that partnership as well. And then I wasn't at the last meeting. I was with my daughter at the hospital down south. And so I just wanted to say that I was able to attend the Skywalk grand opening. And amazing. I did all the events. Well, no, I didn't do all the events. I didn't do the painting part, but I did do the yoga on the Skywalk with Pali Yoga, with the gongs. Phenomenal. It was such a magical experience. And then the next day, I did forest bathing down in the forest, underneath. What a gift. What a great weekend. It was just a lot of fun, and I hope that the zoo continues to move forward with those kinds of things. So I'm working on some other things, but I'm not going to talk about them right now. And, you guys, the summer concerts are going to be opening up July 15th. We're going to have live music. We're going to be able to be out dancing again. So join us, because that's like the bomb all summer long. And Friday night markets start the 16th of August. So we got a lot going on. August 6th. It's going to be amazing. So I love where we live.
Councilmember Bauer.
Thank you, Mayor Seaman. I just want to say, I saw a funny thing. As anybody that lives in town knows, the whole place is under construction. And there was a great meme somebody had put up that showed the ocean or the bay in blue and then the forest in green. It said everything not blue or green is under construction. But people have been pretty cool in general. Like I haven't gotten, my whole front street is torn up in front of my house. But everybody knows it's important stuff, and they appreciate all the good work going on. So I just thought it was pretty nice that the city is kind of maintaining civility through a whole summer of construction. The microgrid grant, there's a big ceremony tomorrow for the airport microgrid, and this is basically the airport, once the solar panels are installed, will be completely self-sufficient, or could run, all the power goes out, airport's fine. I'm attending that through RCEA, Redwood Coast Energy Authority, and Congressman Huffman's going to be there, and it's going to be a really cool thing to kick off becoming energy self-sufficient, renewable energy self-sufficient. So really cool thing going on tomorrow. The wind energy thing that we talked about. Talked to one of the congressman's representatives about it, and that'll be on the 13th, and I think that's an all-day event. But trying to move the wind energy project forward off the coast, and I kind of comment, it could take 5-10 years, and we don't really it's like we don't have 5-10 years. We got to get this thing going faster and faster. But within 5 years, hopefully, we'll have a giant array of windmills off the coast, and depending on how we move the power around, we could be totally self-sufficient. When the wind's blowing, which it's always blowing, in that one little area off the coast there that they're planning to do this big windmill array. So a lot of cool stuff going on in Humboldt County and Eureka, and it's fun to be a part of it. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Arroyo.
Thank you, Mayor. I also did my part and took family from Delaware to the Skywalk, so bringing folks there. I don't know if everyone saw, but I can claim absolutely no credit for this, but HSU was allocated more than $400 million in the state budget very recently, this last week, for the transition to a polytechnic. So that plus an annual 20+ million allocation into the future should be a really great improvement to the region, and really extensive investment that they're willing to make and our state's willing to make in HSU and in our region's future. So that's pretty cool. HTA is also, Humboldt Transit Authority is also working on a microgrid for solar operations, so not to be outdone. But it's really cool to think that the airport and the local transit authority could eventually both be powered by renewable energy. And then the next step is for the buses to go to hydrogen or electric, or that mix. So that's pretty cool for us as well. Some really cool stuff happening with HTA. It's early to, this isn't finalized, but working towards connections to Point South. So the Humboldt Transit Authority, not our charter, but the equivalent thereof, was amended a while back to allow us to operate outside of just Humboldt County. So we were previously limited to Humboldt County. So really trying to make that connection eventually down to Willits or Ukiah so that people can go south on transit. I'm really passionate about that. Also working to roll out a transit pass that you can use on all the systems locally. So currently everything but Arcata Mad River Transit is all one. So now a pass that we're going to be trying out soon will allow you to ride on all of them. So that's really exciting just for people's connectivity. I serve on the Klamath River Renewal Corporation, not with my city hat on, but as a public civil servant in a sense. And there's been some really big news there. And I chose to mention it here because when we talk about our support of tribes, the removal of the 4 Klamath dams that are slated for removal is really hugely linked to tribal sovereignty and support for the health and well-being of our North Coast tribes and inland tribes. And so that has made some epic progress. The Federal Energy Regulatory Commission approved the license transfer, and a bunch of steps that were big legal hurdles and regulatory hurdles are being jumped. So the Secretary of the Interior, our brand new Secretary of the Interior, Deb Haaland, came out very strongly in support of the project too. So in the past, I think the federal administration had sort of, to the extent possible, stayed out of this matter, and that is not the case with Secretary Haaland. So she wrote a strongly worded letter of support. So anyway, it's cool to see, and when we think about the Klamath salmon's impact in our region, it's really to our local fisheries and to the health of our tribes. So I'm excited about that process, moving it forward. It's still a few years out for the drawdown of the water and then the removal of the dams, but it's looking more and more positive by the month. So really, really incredible work going on there. I gotta say, I went roller skating on the plaza in Arcata, where they closed the whole plaza to traffic on July 4th for 4 hours. And it was phenomenal, and there's so much turnout. So the pandemic has really resulted in a renaissance of roller skating. And I would like to do Arcata one better and close something so that we can have roller skating. So I'm just putting that intention out here now, and I will work with staff on ideas for that. It's certainly a personal project of mine. I'd like to try to do a little friendly one-up of Arcata in that regard. And then lastly, I was gone for a couple of meetings, and I appreciate all of you working hard in my absence. I was in Coast Guard Officer Candidate School, and I am now an ensign in the United States Coast Guard. Thank you. It was literally blood, sweat, and tears. So it was a hard experience to go through, and I am glad I hopefully never have to go to Officer Candidate School again. Can't imagine that I would. So I look forward to continuing to serve in the Coast Guard. I'll pass it on.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Moulton.
Thank you very much, and congratulations. I too am working on some things that I'm not quite ready to bring up just yet. but we'll get to it. And I just wanted to mention, in addition to Friday Night Market and the live concerts, Arts Alive is back and going strong already, which is very exciting. What a great opportunity to support local businesses and local artists and get out and around your community. Maybe we'll close Waterfront Drive. Do it by Halverson. Side note, sorry. And I was just thinking about the zoo and the Skywalk and all this wonderful stuff and all these great community events. And just like the community events and the youth programs are often offering scholarships and sponsors for folks that need it, the zoo is, if you have an EBT card, is half price. Is that right? Half price? And there are free passes available to check out at the library. So all these great things that the city is building and working on to bring visitors in are here for all of the people of Eureka also, even if they can't afford the ticket price. So up at the library. That's all.
Councilmember Castellano.
All right. Let's see. As you know, I appreciate this council and our city staff. We're always busy doing things, and the same it continues to be true. Let's see. Seems like so long ago, but participated in the Clark Plaza kind of cleanup and beautification along with Councilmember Burgell and some city staff. It was really fun, and I hope people enjoy the flowers. And then, I guess a week later, we did a Wabash cleanup and beautification, and I just want to give a shout out to Robin Prasker, who's been organizing neighborhood, city employee organizing, and is the lead for the neighborhood beautification program. And so this program, and we were kind of modeling it in our neighborhood, but this program invites people in Eureka to kind of adopt a street or a portion of their block and get together with their fellow neighbors and do a cleanup. The city's supporting this with staff and supplies and things, and it's really fun. I got to know some neighbors who are new to the area when I did it, and that just kind of ties it all in together so well. And it's really satisfying now to walk down Wabash and see the planters looking so much more beautiful and flowers, and mad weeding took place. It was amazing. And then I too was in Arcata on 4th of July with the Synapsis Eureka Drumming Brigade. It was our debut because we've been having 6 weeks of street closures. So on Union Street. So the next one is on this coming Saturday from 12 to 3. There's hip-hop dance from 12 to 1:30 and free drumming classes. These are all free classes open to the community from 1:30 to 3. So we are planning to continue the drumming, but maybe not close down the street every Saturday. But if you want to come this Saturday with your roller skates while we're drumming, you get to have live musical accompaniment. And let's see, attending housing work group meetings and economic development meetings. I attended the Juneteenth celebration that Black Humboldt put on with the, and what else? I also went to the Skywalk, and I brought my first membership. So I'm one of the 680, I think. And attended Arts Alive, REDEC, and what was I going to say? With Michelle McKeegan from Keep Eureka Beautiful, we convened a kind of livable Eureka meeting, and this was a meeting of kind of quite a few of the different groups that do kind of different beautification-related planning around Eureka. So, everyone from the Street Art Festival to the Pack Out Green team to Project Eureka to Keep Eureka Beautiful and more, and the trail stewards. Anyway, just kind of seeing how we can. It's amazing. There's so many fantastic volunteers doing really lovely work for the city. Just to, out of the joy of making the world more beautiful, right? And so it was really nice to kind of be amongst a group of people who are like, how can we support each other in doing that and sharing resources? So that was fun. And in terms of, and also participated in a Mondays with Michelle filming at the Skywalk as well. So look forward to that. Thanks, Michelle. And in terms of bringing things forward, I know this is coming forward, some sort of public workshop around the Elk River and that. And so I'm just curious when that might be, or just so that, because I know people are asking us about it. So I'm hoping that it's sooner than later, if possible.
It will be sooner than later. I don't believe it's going to make it before it goes to the regional boards meeting. But there will be a special study session meeting that will be brought up so that we can bring in all the players and discuss all of the background and how we got to where we're at with the nexus between the Bays and Estuaries compliance and the Elk River project.
Great.
And I did reach out to board member Ben Zanelli from the district, and I've tried to set up a meeting to discuss it with our staff as well.
Great. Yeah, I just think it's really important that we keep, good communication with the community around that issue, because we're all part of this community together. And that is my council report.
All right, with that, I'm going to adjourn the public council meeting, and we will be returning to closed session, which we did not complete our business before this meeting. So we'll reconvene in room 207. For everybody else, have a good evening. We'll see you in 2 weeks.